Good evening, spooks, and welcome to a delayed February wrap-up. Very delayed for me. I usually post on Thursday, and in February, Thursday landed on the penultimate day of the month, so it would have been perfect for a wrap-up. However, I had been away that week. There is a vlog coming out for that soon, and also I have been battling illness in February, an illness that wiped me out. I had to take time off work. I never take time off work, but we're here now. It might be March, but hey, bonus, you get 2 videos in 1 week, if you even care. Let's talk stats. In the month of February, I read 8 books, and 7 of those were physical, 1 of those was an audiobook. So in total, I read 2,330 physical pages, and I listened to 13 hours and 11 minutes of an audiobook. A lot of pages for me. That's quite an impressive month for what is also a short month. Being ill had some benefit, obviously. My average rating this month was 3.5 stars, which is fine. That's not bad. That means we had a couple of high scorers in there at least. And unsurprisingly, but also kind of surprisingly, my most read genre this month was romance, and I know that's because it was February, hence the get-up, hence the ambiance. It was the month of love, loving each other, loving yourself, more importantly. And so I did read 3 romance books in February for my romance vlog, which I hope you've already seen. If not, please refer to that, because I'm going to reference it quite a lot in this video. First up in the month of February, I read Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is one I read as part of my romance vlog, so I won't give you my full thoughts here because I would be repeating myself and I don't wish to repeat myself. Especially because this was a 2-star read for me. 2. I did not find the romance believable, and there were so many red flags I couldn't possibly root for its success. For more in-depth thoughts, please do refer to my romance vlog. I will link it down below in the comments. Again, for the romance vlog, I read Never Date a Roommate by Paula Ottoni. This one fulfilled my read a book described as funny TBR game prompt. There's a mouthful. And this one was a little bit better, sitting at maybe a 3-star. It wasn't as problematic as Flawless, but I still wasn't convinced by the romance between these 2 characters. I'm not sure they knew each other, let alone liked each other enough to fall in love. They seemed to have absolutely nothing in common, and the only thing they seemed to like about each other was that they were hot. Weird. Full thoughts are in my romance vlog. Final one from the romance vlog, I listened to Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall, and this one was a 4-star read. This fulfilled my LGBTQ+ characters and or author prompt for my TBR game, and I loved it. I think that the fake dating trope was really well done in this, and I do love a fake dating trope. I also found that all of the characters, even the side characters, were very well developed. They had full personalities and flaws and were really all of them on a different path and all of them interesting in their own way. It also had a closed door or door ajar romance, which I very much enjoyed more than an open door romance. And again, more thoughts in my romance vlog. One more like this and then we can get into proper reviews. Because next up in February I read Pearl by Sian Hughes. I actually got it from the library and then had to buy myself a copy. That's all I'll say on perhaps rating wise, because I'm not going to give you the rating for this one. I have a vlog coming out end of March, beginning of April, where I've set myself a little challenge, and this does form part of that, so I don't want to repeat myself or give you any spoilers. But I will tell you what this one is about. Pearl is about Marianne, who is a little girl, young girl, 8 I think, when her mother just ups and leaves. And when I say ups and leaves, she doesn't pack a bag and disappear into the night. She's not abducted by aliens. She just gets up, no wellies on her feet, no coat, and walks out into the rain, leaving the front door open, leaving her 2 small children with their nanny behind. 'Tis a mystery. 'Tis a mystery. The plot then follows Marianne as she grows up to be a young adult and battling all of the things that life throws at you, alongside grieving for your mother who hasn't died, or you don't know she's died, she's just vanished, and a difficult relationship with a father who didn't know how to parent a grieving 8-year-old. I mean, fair, that would be quite difficult. So there's lots of discussion about family and grief. This is a literary fiction, I think I would say, but it also has an essence of mystery, because Marianne's trying to piece together the mystery of where her mother went, why she went, and where she is now, and also a hint of magical realism. We're led to believe that Marianne and her mother might possess some powers, but you're gonna have to read it. And for full ratings, you'll have to watch my vlog that comes out towards the end of March, beginning of April. Okay, finally, we can talk properly. Next up, I read The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry, and it's a good job I can talk because I've got a lot of things to say. I read this one for my A Book You Got for Free TBR prompt, and the reason why I got it for free is because at my work we have a book swap. I don't want to insult your intelligence, but if you don't know what that means, you can discard your old books and take books off the shelves that other people have discarded. It's quite a good system. And when I spotted this in my book swap, I thought, hey, I've heard about this quite a lot of times. This is a historical fiction with a little bit of magical realism fantasy woven through. This sounds right up my street. And so I picked it up and I messaged my friend slash colleague at the time. She's no longer a colleague, but she's still a friend. We love her. And I said, guess what I just found in the work book swap? And she said, yes. Yeah, I know that was there because I put it there because I hated it. So she got to chapter 2 and DNF'd it. And I can see why. I rated this one 2 stars. Oh my gosh. The fact that I committed and read the whole thing was solely so that I could complete my TBR game. Otherwise, I would have DNF'd a long time ago. Not quite chapter 2, but halfway through, 40%, yeah, I would have DNF'd. But I did not. I completed it. I am so shocked that I didn't like this because the premise is rooted in mythology. It's recommended for those who enjoyed The Miniaturist by Jessie Burton, and enjoy it I did. So I was anticipating this to be a 5-star read. Imagine my disappointment when it was but a 2. I am not sure how you can take an intriguing premise, what is, I imagine, a lot of research, and create this boring piece of literature. I just don't know how that's possible. And credit where credit's due, the writing style is quite good. It's quite good, I have no complaints. And as I said, the research that must have went into this is astronomical, very impressive. But the positives end there. The characters in this were insufferable, and not in an exciting love-to-hate-them way, just void of personality sort of way. There is a story of infidelity within this story, and usually that might form some excitement or debate about morality. There's a little bit of debate about morality that it spikes within you, but for the most part, it's just not that interesting. I wasn't invested in any of the characters, so I wasn't appalled when the infidelity occurred, and for the most part, it's just very, very dull. A historical fantasy that does not live up to even a fraction of the hype. 2 stars. Oh, I'm glad I got that off my chest. Next up, I read The House of Many Ways by Diana Wynne Jones. This one is the 3rd in the Howl's Moving Castle series. The first one, obviously, Howl's Moving Castle, very much enjoyed. The second one, hated. The third one, 4 stars. Make it make sense, I don't know. I read this one for my Aeldia's prompt of a book to the left middle of your shelf. I will link G at Book Roast's channel down below because that's where the Aeldia challenge comes from, and it's part of an entire world that has been created by G, and it's incredible, so please go check it out. So I read that one for that prompt, and I get to continue on my travels across the map. You'll see when I post my TBR game for March. This is a middle grade fantasy, as the whole series is. If you've seen Howl's Moving Castle, it's very similar in whimsy and fantasy. What I loved most about this is that it does feature Calcifer, Sophie, Howl, and Sophie and Howl's child. So that's an exciting development from the first book. But the main character is a young girl who goes to house sit at her great uncle's house, who is a great wizard. He's like a renowned, famous wizard. And she starts to discover that she has the ability to do magic whilst house-sitting the House of Many Ways. The House of Many Ways is crazy cool. A very exciting premise for both children and adults. It is a house that has hundreds of rooms and portholes to different places, but to get to those rooms and to get to those portholes you have to do little quirky things like spin clockwise and open the door with your right hand and it'll lead to the kitchen. Spin anti-clockwise and open it with your left hand, it'll lead to the castle. Very, very cool. It made me have a really cool dream about being lost in a house with loads of different rooms, and it was very exciting. And I would just love for this one to have been made into a film. Here's hoping one day, maybe. So aside from navigating her newly discovered magic, there is also a mystery in this novel, which is where Sophie, Calcifer and Howl come into it, and our main character has to solve the mystery along with those characters, and some royalty too. And the ending is just very wholesome. The whole book is wholesome. It's very whimsical, quirky, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, Next up, I read Eyes, Guts, Throat and Bones, Eyes, Guts, Throat, Bones by Moira Fowley. And this one has been on my shelf for a very long time. It was one of those books where I saw it everywhere when it came out and was desperate to buy it. And then you know when you acquire the goods, you put it on the shelf and then you forget why you ordered it. I have no memory of it. I picked it up, I started reading, and I discovered why I was so excited to read it. So this is a collection of short stories that are in the horror genre, but also dystopian sci-fi. The blend of the two is superbly, expertly done. Each story tells a tale of how the world as we know it ends, and each one is more uncomfortable and weird as the last. It was a 4-star read for me, and I would love to pick up more from the same author because they write horror very well. Finally, in the month of February, I read the one, the only, Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett. The third in the Emily Wilde series, and I think the last. I did some research. I can see nowhere mentioned that there will be a spin-off, a number 4, nothing. I don't believe anything is coming. This could be the last we ever read of Emily, of Wendell, of Shadow, of Olga. My heart is broken. My heart is broken into a million little pieces, but this was a 5-star read. I read this book for my series prompt, which I didn't plan to read for my series prompt, but Laurie kindly commented on my TBR game saying, hey, you can use this as a series. And I was like, heck yes I can. So here it is being used for the series prompt. If by some crazy miracle you have not heard of the Emily Wilde series before, let me tell you a little bit about it. This is a historical romantasy, I would say. Both of those genres apply. And we are following Emily Wilde, who is a scholar learning all about fae. And she discovers that her colleague and rival, Wendell, is a fae prince in line for the throne. But first he has to defeat some evils to get there. So this is told in Emily's journals. There are scholarly footnotes, so it feels a little bit dark academia at some points. There is rivals to lovers. There is grumpy gal and sunshine man, which was just brilliantly done. The romance is so sweet. It is a closed door romance, but it's very sweet and suggestive in parts. It's just so beautifully done. Naturally for me, this was a 5-star read. I don't think we would expect anything less from me, and I'm very sad that there are no more. I'm gonna reread the whole series, which is crazy high praise from me. You will not see me doing that with any other series, I don't think. The only teeny tiny qualm I had, which would probably make it a 4.75 rather than a bang on 5, was that everything came quite easily to Emily. I'm not going to give any spoilers at all, but there were a couple of plot points where they have a big challenge to face, and Emily discovered the solution very easily, and her first attempt at fixing the situation worked. So there wasn't much of a struggle. The stakes were still quite high and there was still drama, but not a lot of hardship, if you know what I mean. So it came a little bit easy to her. I would have liked to see her struggle more, or see her fail and then succeed at the end. But the ending was beautifully done. It wrapped everything up in a perfect package and brought a tear to my eye. I've got no other comments other than please go read it if you haven't already. It was beautiful. And that brings me to the end, but to a very important point of, if you know of any other series that are very similar in essence to this, I want closed door romance, but romance is very much a subplot. I want whimsical fantasy for adults, I guess. If you have anything remotely similar, please put them in the comments down below because I need more like this in my life. That brought me true joy at the end of what was a difficult month. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in a video very soon. Bye! Let me show you a place.